For only the second time in history, a British monarch celebrates a Diamond Jubilee. The reign of Queen Elizabeth II has spanned 60 years. 6 decades of momentous change in the United Kingdom and the world. But her guiding principle, set out long ago, has never changed.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
This weekend, the Queen matches the achievement of her great-great-grandmother Victoria and celebrates her Diamond Jubilee. The stage is just about set. Welcome to the Thames Diamond Jubilee pageant. So this is it. Welcome to viewers around the UK, indeed around the world. And the spotlight very clearly on the River Thames. That's where more than 1,000 vessels of different shapes and sizes set to take part in the biggest pageant that's seen on the river for 350 years. Up to 1 million people, we think, lining the banks to get a direct view. For those who can't make it, including those who are, of course, making their way now towards some of the parks, there'll be dozens of big screens in parks and public squares around the UK, carrying the BBC's coverage of the day's events on the river.
Go back toward the Royal Barge because I think a few members of the royal family have just arrived.
Chelsea Bridge is where we're at the moment, and the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall. Deputy Lord Lieutenant there just shaking hands with the Duke of Cambridge. Down at Southwark now, and the crowds here, goodness me, absolutely huge. And that is the Queen's car coming around the corner very shortly. In fact, it was the Lord Mayor's show that used to start on the river. And that's why they called them floats in those days. The Royal Highness Queen Elizabeth II. The Duke of Edinburgh too, being greeted by Sir David Brewer. I do believe the crowd already are singing the national anthem.
So what a marvellous, joyous occasion. I think people say the Queen's seen everything before. She won't have seen anything like today.
Well, that's an interesting point, because this isn't the first time that she's been on the water in Jubilee terms.
Yeah, but nothing so grand. In 1977, she progressed like a Queen Elizabeth I progressed from Greenwich
for the silver
to Lambeth for the Silver Jubilee, and there was a pageant then, but it was only 140 boats. I mean, famously, that when she came back from the Commonwealth tour on Britannia in 1954, she came here to the Pool of London, where we are, on the ship with Churchill on board. So it's so much part of our history, so much part of her history, the family history.
But you have to say the atmosphere is a real carnival atmosphere down on the River Thames and on the banks as well, and indeed on the Royal Barge too.
What a fantastic sight. I tell you, there are thousands of people standing here on the riverbanks behind us. They are not seeing these pictures. They have no idea what is heading their way. This is where it will all finish in about an hour and a quarter up at Tower Bridge. Extraordinary scenes.
Yes, and if you're not sure really what to expect, well, this is the order that the flotilla will follow. So leading proceedings, the Royal Jubilee Bells is the first of 10 music barges, making each of the sections of boats taking part in this procession.
Yes, that's where John Barrowman is. We saw him earlier. He's even having a go at ringing that. Following the bell ringers, the Royal Row Barge Gloriana, and behind her those 250 rowboats which are acting as the pace setters for the flotilla. Then there are kayaks and dragon boats, as well as plenty of other boats in the man-powered section.
Adorned with flags of the Commonwealth there, plus we'll then see the royal section headed by the Royal Barge carrying the Queen, the Duke of Edinburgh and other members of the royal family.
And behind them, we haven't seen much of them yet, but we will find the Dunkirk little ships and other historic vessels which make up the biggest collection of historic boats ever to assemble on the River Thames.
Then it's time for the service boats that work on the river on a daily basis. Steam and working vessels, leisure vessels, recreation, motorboats, look, narrow boats and barges, and then the passenger boats.
And bringing it all up at the tail end of this enormous procession, 1,000 vessels, is the London Philharmonic Orchestra.
The glass-fronted vessel Symphony hosting the musicians from one of the country's most respected orchestras. Directed by David Parry. Well, I hope they get a thunderous round of applause because they really do deserve it. Well, one of the gentlemen on the Spirit of Chartwell slinking into the background, really. Lord Salisbury, the chairman of Thames Diamond Jubilee Foundation, has done a huge amount of work on behalf of everybody to get this pageant up and running and then to completion. Nice little side comment was that he was the great-great-grandson of the current Lord Salisbury, who was Prime Minister at the time of Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. But certainly that moment from the orchestra and the singers Sort of mildly eccentric moment in some ways, but one that the British do so well. It's hard to hard to imagine that things can go back to normal after this. It has been such an extraordinary day.